Hi, I'm Scott Olson with FounderBuzz, and today I'm here with Sean Beeson, who owns an independent studio that creates and scores music for games and all kinds of other media. So certainly I'm glad to have you here today on FounderBuzz, Sean.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? What do you do?
Certainly. Yeah, I'm a media composer, which really kind of entails composing music for video games, film, TV, film trailers, and really anything that kind of moves. So I have scored films and games, and I do concert works as well. But I am a composer and a media composer, and I've been composing music for, it's been at least 14 years since I've been writing music, but I've been doing it professionally for about the last 6 years.
Wow.
And it's my passion, and I primarily work in the games industry because I love games.
Yeah. And do you score for any particular types of games, like RPGs or casual games, or because I'm assuming that the music requirements in something like a World of Warcraft is very different than from Goop, for example, as a casual gaming app.
Correct. Yeah, I really could score anything, and I'm open to scoring any kinds of games. But the market really kind of dictates what I'm normally hired for. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of gotten a name for doing a lot of fantasy music. That's usually what I get hired for. We're doing the kind of over-the-top, zany, Disney-esque kind of music.
Right.
So I either do the really rich fantasy music or the real quirky, energetic kind of stuff. And I do a lot of like epic, dark, big music as well. Mm-hmm. But that's, I don't get hired quite as often to do stuff like that. And I think a lot of that's because there's a lot of composers that do that music and not nearly as many that do some of these other styles.
Right. Have you ever
in the smaller markets, that is.
Have you ever done any television or film work, or is it primarily all media? I mean,
I have done smaller films, a lot of animated films, and my music that's been placed in TV shows and in trailers is usually music that's licensed through libraries. Uh-huh. So I'm not usually hired directly, at least with TV series, to score a series, but my music does occasionally show up in TV shows and little spots for films and stuff and TV shows.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's certainly an interesting business, and I've never had anybody on FounderBuzz quite like yourself. So I'd love to hear a little bit about the business element of a media-based business. And, I'm certain there's a lot of things that are very similar to traditional startups, but there's got to be a ton of things that are very different.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a one-man operation, so I work by myself. I run a home studio, and so I do all of my work online. I rarely meet any of my clients. And I would say over 50% of my clients I have not even spoke to on the phone. And this is different from a traditional media composer, maybe from like 8 to 10 years ago, or maybe even 5 years ago, where you still really needed that physical interaction to kind of create those connections and rake in the work.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I get all of my work through forums, posting on forums, which is about the best form of free advertising that you can have.
Right.
And through my website. I drive a lot of traffic through my website, and people will just email me, and we'll just go from there.
Right. And then, of course, in the past, you would have had to been associated with an agency as opposed to independent, and to where you couldn't drum up your own business, I assume. So, kind of the internet age is making a lot of things possible for you to do direct business with clients that need your work.
Yeah, you really need to. Years ago, it really benefited you to be where the studios, were located, the big studios. And now with independent developers and the iPhone and the Android market, I work with people all over the globe, usually small teams. And in one case, I worked with a guy for almost a year that I didn't know he was just down the street from me. And he didn't know that we were within just like 2 hours of each other, which in Ohio, there's not many developers. So it was quite a feat that we had worked together and didn't know that we were, just down the street. So
Yeah, well, I mean, it's extremely interesting. I mean, certainly I've worked with people myself that are in Eastern Europe all the way down to South America, and you don't know exactly where they're located at all times. So that's with media business. That's something that's unique because it's independent of language and it's needed all over the world.
Mm.
Now,
Absolutely.
do you have any advice for the game makers out there? Especially the way that came into contact with you, of course, was through Patrick, who made the casual game Goop, and you did the score of the music on that game. Mobile games are booming. Mobile applications are certainly have a bright and promising future and are growing every day. Do you have any advice for people that are out there designing the games and when they're considering the sound score for their applications?
Yes, I do. You get what you pay for with your music. That's probably the best advice. My biggest competition is not actually other composers. My biggest competition is free music.
Right.
It's royalty-free music and little loop packs of cheap music is my largest competition. A majority of the clients I work with, I just am constantly struggling to convince them why hiring an original composer is going to benefit them better in the long run to having the best score they can have.
Right.
And so I think it's important not only to help support composers and to help support artists to hire original music, but you can also get what you want and speak directly with the creator of the content to have it tailored exactly to what you need instead of licensing music and then struggling to get it to fit and then finding out that the licensing agreements with that music is maybe locking you into one platform, and that if you want to release that game on another platform, you have to keep paying all these subsequent license fees and royalties. You're better off speaking directly with a professional that does this on a daily basis, and they can just give you exactly what you need, tell you exactly what it's going to cost, and there's no other variables or hidden fees. And I mean, that's probably my best advice.
Right.
Other than making sure that you save enough space in the game to have music. Because so many app developers want to develop very tiny applications. Just 6 or 7 megabytes of size. Well, you can't squeeze 10 minutes of music into that. So.
Right. Right, and understanding, I guess, the impact that music really has on the overall experience, right? I mean, it certainly is. You can take the extreme example. I would happen to be a World of Warcraft fan in the past, and it was, I felt like the audio was one of the things that they did as well as anybody, out there. And certainly good sound score can change your experience that you have with the game. And so I think that's really, really good advice.
Yeah, I actually hear that a lot. Oh, I'm just making a casual game. The music really doesn't matter. The sounds really don't matter. And for a lot of casual games, the bad music and bad sounds may not negatively impact the experience that the user has with it, but good music and good sounds will definitely leave a positive impression on the gamer. So I think that's important.
Well, I certainly appreciate your time, and now we've mentioned one of the games that you scored, Goop, which is whose founder was on FounderBuzz before. But any other game that we should go check out that you're kind of really proud of your work that maybe I should go download as soon as I finish up this interview?
The soundtrack for Dangerous, which is an iPhone and iPad game. I scored a lot of that game last year, 2010. Was when I scored a lot of the game, but it's over 30 minutes of music, and I have a lot of big scores coming out this year. Mm-hmm. So Mecha Wars HD is coming out, and so you'll see a lot of me.
I'll go
hear a lot of me.
As soon as this is over, I'll go download Dangerous, and I would love it if you'd give me a little update in the future of new games. So,
sounds great.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us today, Sean. Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.